I'm Chanason Chakidipon, the director of All the Things You Leave Behind. Uh, my film is tries to integrate about the American influence that's what hidden in Thai society, and that leads the people became to someone who can enjoy and kill others during in the Cold War era. Um, I made this film to understand understand more about my own country by exploring into the past history, and by doing this I learned a lot that my country had some colonial conditions, both from the first world and from within the country itself. Um, it made it made me decide to explore more about this issue in the future through filmmaking.
I am Tristan Perez from Pagadian City in Mindanao, and I am the writer-director of the short film I Get So Sad Sometimes. The story is about Jake, a gay teenager from the province who develops an anonymous sexual relationship with a mature man whose face he hasn't seen yet. If there's one thing that I realize about my own creative process during the creation of I Get So Sad Sometimes, it's how most of the self-discovery that they talk about in filmmaking really occurs during the script revision, during the writing process. It's when you start to really like challenge your own perspectives and even like principles, and then project those realizations to your characters. It's when you like really interrogate your own history if the material is based on like personal experiences, and it's when you like really put all those little details that like personally matters to you. It's the part of filmmaking where really most of the hard work really occurs, and it's definitely my favorite part. For the future of local, alternative, and non-mainstream cinema naman, I hope that there will be even more film labs like the ones that Archipelago and like Mindanao Film Lab in Sala Mindanao conduct, to like really develop and support emerging talents that are outside the center, like outside Manila. I also hope that there will be even more film grants that are exclusively just for regional filmmakers, for most of our stories to be competitively produced with a proper budget, and for those stories to not just stay in our laptops forever.
Magandang araw po, ako po si Carlo and si Sokatu, ang direktor ng Ang Paboritong Pinggan ni Nanay, which is a short film about a family na nakasentro sa pagmamahal ng isang nanay. Ang pelikulang ito ay tungkol sa nanay at sa paborito nitong pinggan. But I think more than the obvious, this short film is still part of my coping process ng pagkawala ng nanay ko noong taong 2020 kasabay ng pandemya. After mawala ni mama, I think ang mga next na naging projects ko, whether ako yung nagsulat or nag-direct, nag-produce, are somehow nagiging silang love letter for my love to her and my respect to her. Masaya po ako na nabigyan kami ng chance na mai-share namin at mai-share ko itong napaka-personal na pelikula ko sa inyo at sa Binisaya. Sana magkita-kita po tayo soon, at sana mag-crossroads ang ating mga landas at ang ating mga experience. I hope that the alternative cinema will continue to thrive, kahit na I believe nasa panahon tayo na nagbabago ang mukha ng Philippine industry or the film industry in general. Pero malaki ang tiwala ko at bilib ko sa mga kwentista, lalo na from the regions, na magpapatuloy tayong magkwento ng mga kwentong malalapit sa puso natin.
Flame. Sorry. Okay. Hi, my name is Ligaya Villablanca, or Chicken Ligaya. I am the director, producer, and editor of Ang Tawag Kay Kapito na Inom. Let's call it the Seventh Dream. Seventh Dream is based on this Warainan poem by Merly Alunan. This was a joint effort of interpretation towards the creation of the film. It has a lot to do with the limitations and liberties we have with our native tongues. The agreement was that three Cebuano photographers, Kanoy, Ezra, and Vince, interpret and hand out material given the limited understanding to the Warainon language, and that I wouldn't know whose photo is whom. Essentially, it has something to do with how certain words get lost in translation, in time, in space. But the vibe always finds its way. Make that what you will. The two things I learned from creating this experimental maoy or whatever is that, one, my art director told me this, Waray is my love language. And two, I realized that every move I made is considered a mistake for me. And that's not even the lesson. The lesson was that if I hadn't even tried to scratch this itch to make a film, I wouldn't be learning anything. Not to manifest it, but the next 6 years is going to be without a doubt a challenge. And seeing the tip of the iceberg of plenty promising filmmakers, plenty promising initiatives, and plenty promising potentials. That's a lot of P. My hopes on local or alternative, or maybe underground, cinema is that if it's going to be a mess, y'all better be here for the ride.
Ako si Miguel Legaspi, ang direktor at isa sa mga manunulat ng Ma. Ang kasama ko magsulat dito ay ang Tikatik at ang producer namin ay si Darlene Balyano. Magsimula kami sa pagsusulat nito sa isang thought na parang ang hirap makipag-away sa nanay kaysa sa ibang part of the family. Parang pag nakipag-alitan ka sa nanay mo, kaya kahit nakipag-away ka sa kanya, parang end of the world na. Siya yung madalas mong kakampi sa bahay. Bale, parang ang hirap lang, 'di ba? Kaya yun, naisip namin gumawa ng storya tungkol sa isang disowned son na kailangan magdesisyon sa buhay ng nanay niya kahit kagalit niya ito for almost 10 years. Yun yung nagawa namin storya, and naging tungkol siya sa acceptance and uncertainty through a single phone call. Kaya dito natin malalaman sa Ma kung ano ba yung pinagdaanan niya, kung ano ba yung trauma niya, kung ano ba yung naging dispute nila, kung ano ba yung broken past na tinutukoy. Nasa magkabilang linya lang sila ng telepono, susubukan lang nila ayusin yung relationship nila kahit huli na. Para sa akin, mas naging personal tong pelikula na ito dahil habang ginagawa ko siya ay pumanaw ang lola ko na ka-close ko. Dahil sa paggawa ng pelikulang to, natutunan ko ang pagbitaw, ang bumitaw sa isang tao, ang bumitaw sa nakaraan, ang bumitaw sa kalungkutan, at natutunan ko rin na ang pagbitaw ay paghinga. Sana itong pelikulang to ay maitawid namin sa mas malawak na audience, mas maraming tao, para masabi namin na okay lang yan. Kahit medyo unsure ka sa buhay mo, medyo meron kayong away ng minamahal mo, ay masasabi mo rin ang lahat in due time. At sana ito yung film na bibigyan kayo ng linaw na sabihin nyo na yung gusto nyo sabihin bago mahuli ang lahat. Dahil yun ang kinuhang chance ni Andre. Nagpapasalamat rin ako sa BINISAYA dahil nagkaroon kami ng platform, nagkaroon kami ng premiere for our film. Isang parangal na rin ito to be amongst great filmmakers na hinahangaan ko lang noon, ngayon kasama ko na sa lineup. Nagpapasalamat ako doon dahil nagkakaroon ng boses ang mga hindi makapagsalita through the art of cinema, through alternative and indie cinema, na ito yung binigay sa amin ng Binisaya at ng mga iba pang film festivals ay makapagsalita.
Ako di ay si Doy Megrino, ang conductor sa Jacol or Claire de Lolo in D major. I say conductor because I imagine the film to be kind of like a symphony. No, nga it's not just about the visual aspect kung saan makita dito, but the audio, the music, jud pod plays a huge part in the viewing experience. Dala jud po siyang tigaw. So, yeah, I hope you experience it as a whole. I-feel ninyo ang mga sensory kuan sa mga magilok sa inyo hadira. What's it about? What's the story about? Kuan kanang, I don't know what else to expect from a film titled Jakol, but yeah, it's about sa lalaki nga nagjakol. Or well, kanang kuan, it's about a guy who gets prompted by a memory to pleasure himself, and kuan ka na experience post nut clarity, which you know sometimes goes with it. Maybe dagan makarelate, maybe wala. Filmmaking is a lifesaver. Lifesaver good. I've been through some very rough patches, and I wouldn't be here without if I had not discovered kanang filmmaking. No, it is a very stressful distraction, but a very helpful one jud pod kayo. What are my hopes for the industry, for local cinema unsa ba na dira? More kuan lang, more of this jud siguro, and for it to be accessible, mas accessible pa, for not only for the filmmakers to show their craft, their mga ilang mga gipangkapa, but also para sa rest of the people, everybody else, nga makita nila nga daghan jud pug kapa gyud pod nga mga films that can come from just about anywhere. And kay personal mo gud gyapon ang ano ana, ang connect ana, no. So you just have to find films jud nga maka-touch sa imo on a certain deep personal level.
انیماتور و کارگردان از ایران. خیلی خوشحالم که فیلم منو انتخاب کردین برای نمایش در جشنواره‌تون. شما در این ویدیوی کوتاه خواهید دید که سمپاش چگونه ساخته شده. سمپاش داستان دیستوپیایی است که در اون رویش هر گونه گلوگیاه و رویدنی ممنوعه و سربازهایی به شکل نیمه انسان نیمه ربات وظیفه سرکوب و از بین بردن گیاهان و دستگیری افرادی رو دارن که از گلوگیاهان مراقبت میکنن. در این بین اما یک سرباز بعد از آشنایی با یک چند نهال از طریق یک پسر بچه راهش رو از نابودی به نگهداری از گلوگیاه تغییر میده. در واقع فرم بصری سمپاش و سربازان سمپاش از سربازان نازی جنگ جهانی دوم گرفته شده. و فرم روایت با الهام از فیلم و کتاب فارنهایت 451، البته به طور ناخودآگاه. در اونجا کتاب‌ها و تفکر سوزونده میشه و در کار من زندگی رسید. وقتی 12 سال پیش این ایده به ذهنم رسید، شاید حتی برای خودم باورش کمی سخت بود که مگر میشه که ارتشی پیدا بشه که بخواد گیاهان و رویدنی ها رو نابود کنه. ولی امروز در سال 2022 و بعد از این همه اتفاق عجیب غریبی که افتاده، از پاندمی و خشکی رودخانه ها، نابودی جنگل ها و تغییرات اقلیمی، واقعا این قصه بیشتر به شباهت به واقعیت پیدا میکنه. البته با همه بدبینی و سیاهی که در فیلم هست، اینکه در واقع سوزوندن گیاهان و نابودی گیاهان حتی از نابودی کتاب هم تلختر و سیاه‌تره. و در صحنه آخر ما پلان سکانسی داریم که یک نهال کوچیک سبز در پای مجسمه پیشوای سمپاش ها رشد کرده و در واقع یک کورسوی امید و یک نور امید هرچند ناچیزی رو برای بشر و انسان باقی میذاره. در واقع هستن انسان هایی که همچنان به نگهداری از زندگی و زیبایی ادامه میدن و البته سمپاش ها هم در نابودی همچنان جدی هستن. به امید روزی که دنیا پر از صلح باشه برای تمام موجودات زنده، انسان‌ها، حیوانات و گیاه.
I'm Mark.
Hi, I'm Li Xuan. We are filmmakers from Singapore and we wrote and directed the short film A Man Trembles. So it's a film that's set in 1998 on Sentosa Island in Singapore, and it follows this family spending their last day on Earth before leaving with an extraterrestrial force.
So making this film, we got really inspired to use the location, this vacation island called Sentosa, to talk about how we feel about aspects of our country and the emotional climate of the times today. How salvation turns very much nightmarish for this man who so believes in the material world and its signs.
Yeah, and so we had a really fun time designing the extraterrestrial object and creating it with 3D printing. So it's the original version, and this is painted because Mark used to paint Warhammer miniatures. Yes, so we really want to thank BINISAYA for having our film. It's really very special for us because we've made many film friends here, and also the program is always made out of such interesting and such fresh alternative cinema. Yeah, and so alternative cinema for us, I think, gives us a really honest moment and conversation that's, I think we could do a lot more with in this world of mass manufacture.
Ako po pala si Leonard Ayan Blanca de Bellones, taga Dumangas, Iloilo. I am the writer and director of the short film Itong Nga Bugas Kanaring Ugat, na tumatalakay sa topikong sexual abuse na nasa perspektibo ng isang inosenteng bata. Itong Nga Bugas Kanaring Ugat ay isang mumunting pelikula kung saan ang mito at isyong panlipunan ay pinagtagpo. Ang experience ko po sa paggawa ng aming simple at maikling pelikula ay hindi ko po makakalimutan sa kadahilan ng maliban sa mga bagong kaalaman at mga leksyon na aming natutunan, masasabi ko talaga na napakaraming kwento na naghihintay lamang maisulat at maisapelikula mula sa ating kanya-kanyang rehiyon.
I'm Jana Kareen and I'm the director of Atay Patay. So this short film follows Pilote and Jasem who find a dead body and then decide to bury it themselves. So This film is my attempt at a Cebuano surrealism since it is what I studied for my thesis at the University of San Carlos under the cinema program. And it's not only my attempt at Cebuano surrealism, but it is also like an ode to the Cebuano feature films that I studied and analyzed for this thesis. So you'll see a lot of references to a few Cebuano films like My Paranormal Romance, Ang Damgonel Uteria, and even Escalawags, among many others. It is also a celebration of the dreamlike imagery that I find in Cebuano stories, which I believe can be definitely be delved into more as a study or even as a storyteller. I also hope that Atay Patay or my thesis can be a stepping stone for further studies touching surrealism in Philippine regional cinema. Because to fully understand Philippine cinema, you have to witness and look into the stories from the many islands of the Philippines.
Ako si Edmond Telmo. Ako ang director sa film na Sabat on the Longest Day of the Year. My film is about two women na who are at the critical junctures of their lives. So, pero they resist this juncture by doing the mundane things they were not planning to do, or basically they did nothing. You know? So it's actually inspired of my the books that I read during the pandemic. So I realized na it's also my homecoming film, so there are lots of elements na significant, no, to my hometown, which is Osami City. So yun, that's what my film is all about. What I learned during the shooting, what I learned during the shooting and about the film is resistance is not always grand. No? Resistance can be just doing nothing. That's what I learned about the film and also the pandemic. So, yun, that's what I learned. I hope na ma-enjoy siya or ma-board mo sa film. Okay, manang point. Kumbaga. So, yun. And what's the next question?
Your hopes about local actors.
Hopes about the local cinema, local or regional cinema. Ako nagdahom ko nga unta ang hopes na ko, especially as a Mindanao one filmmaker. I think I'm concerned more about my representation as a Mindanao one filmmaker. No, I hope na dili na siya nga nakalisod magbuhat og film sa regions, and I really hope na mapagtuunan po, or I hope there are more supports on areas, no, that are sometimes forgotten, like for example script development, story development. Kay wala kayo, as far as I know, wala kayo support in those areas, especially sa Mindanao. And also distribution, kay usahay naibayad ang pagpasa og film sa film festivals. I really hope na there are supports that we can tap into as filmmakers, because you know, like how I did this film is fully independent.
Ako si Kuda Books.
Yashia.
Yeah, kami ang nagdirect sa salida nga gitawag og daim, or the sound that the mother makes when her babies break. Yeah, ang salida na mo bahin ni siya sa kanang pagsuway og sukwahi sa tao sa iyang pagkatao. Ang kanaganing pag-unsa niya nga paspasan niya tanan, pero di jud niya maiskapo day kay tanan niya nahibaw-an na, nalimtan lang kanang mga butanga ba.
Bale, the inescapable gift of fertility.
Unya ang diri ta dapit sa among sa among nakat-unan sa ani nga production. Kung ako lang pong tan-on, pareha ra gyapon sa uban akong mga unsa gani nahimo. Magsugod siya og kanang naglibog ko, padong nasud ko masalimuang. Dayon tunga-tunga sa production, labi na kanang padong na mahuman, kaingon ka nga mura kag mura kag bation og kanang kalit nga kamingaw gani. Nawagtang ang misteryo sa imong trabaho, nawagtang ang misteryo sa imong gikalibgan. Nya wala kay mahimo na siya maglaom na lang ka nga unta mao sa yun sa bation og kanang misteryo unta ang mga gatan-aw. Siyempre ora na siya ikaw unsa man nimo.
Samtang gabuhat ta sa salida, kakita ko nga maski kapila kag balik-balik og tan-aw sa usa ka butang, sa pareha nga butang kay nagyapon kay matun-an nga bag-o gikan niya.
Nya so mo to mo nakatunan. Nya gikan na to may tag ka ng unsa kanay tag ka ng gikan na to siguro ako masulti lang labi na sa kung diri ta dapit sa hopes namo sa alternative o regional cinema. Kay mentang tanang mga unsa sa mga ila-ilahang mga production kung naman sila kung unsa may mga gikalibgan nga solusyon silang mga idea para mabutang sa screen ay mata makita silang solusyon nga ilaha jud gani kanang dili pinunit sa ubang galibog nya wala lang balag unsa gud dili makuha dili madakpan pero kung madakpan man aninduta lagi sa feeling lagi siguro ana. So mao na akong gihope sa regional cinema since budding pa siya nga may tag discover nila ang tinuod nga joy sa paghimo. Ikaw sa man nimo?
May ta mo resist jud tag conform ug arang maningkamot ta nga makita atong estilo. Dili arang mag-apas ra ta sa kung unsay standard nga kung unsay standard kung asang kwarta. So mo to.
Ako si Angeli Lazarte, writer and director of the short film La. I made La as a requirement for the completion of my degree at the University of San Carlos School of Architecture, Fine Arts, and Design. It was made with the intent to provide an alternative representation of sorcery in Philippine horror films, different from the usual depictions that we see about black magic, witchcraft, or healing practices. So La is my thesis film. It is heavily grounded with personal experience towards local healing practices. I did a lot of readings. I traveled to different places in Cebu and Negros to interview several mananambal or local healers. I also cross-referenced the efficacy of their methods. I interviewed their patrons, and I learned different encounters, stories about sorcery and local healing in general. I did all those things for my thesis and for the main goal of giving sorcery a realistic representation. So there was definitely a lot of learnings, not just in the research aspect, but also in production as well, big time. The biggest thing I learned about myself was no matter how prepared I was or organized I was, there were still things that ruined the production schedule. These things were beyond my control and they came and went and caused delays, overtime, things like that. So I learned that things can easily go the other way around while on set. So it definitely helps that you are surrounded with skillful and resourceful people who can help you get the job done, who can find ways to solve problems. Making La come together was such a stressful but rewarding experience for me, and I believe I can say the same thing to the creatives and filmmakers who are doing what they can to make their story come together. I believe we are at a time where people are more inquisitive and expressing their own eye for the world. So it's a beautiful thing to witness and be a part of in this generation. Being a cinema graduate, I've always remained hopeful for what's to become of local cinema in the coming days. Ever since being exposed to the works of local filmmakers and being able to study and read films, I've always looked forward to what independent Filipino filmmakers can offer to the table. I can say now is a good time, and I'll always be proud that I'm a part of this, where we get to celebrate the works of talented filmmakers who all have unique lenses of their own.
My name is Jaime Morados. I'm the director and writer of Agahiw the Dreamer. My film is about Agahiw, a star who works in the galactic real estate agency of space. And he falls in love with a human woman. Pero sa galaxy nila, hindi kasi yun pwede. So, yeah, that's the struggle of love. And that is something I learned in the process of making this film. That me, as a filmmaker, if your story is about romantic love, like trying to seek it, trying to reach it, I become a hopeless romantic in the process. So that's kind of weird and very honest, but we'll see what I will do in the next few months. And speaking of love, I hope that in this whole environment and community of local and alternative filmmakers, I hope that we all grow this huge love for it. No, because they're very diverse stories that I wish more and more people could see.
My name is John Peter Chua, and I am the writer-director of No More Crying, or Mangko Haulo. No More Crying follows Stephen Tan, a third-generation Chinese-Filipino photographer and the youngest in their family, when he is suddenly tasked to create his grandmother's funeral portrait. Despite being a photographer, Stephen has never taken his grandmother's portrait because he grew up abroad, and so he is forced to journey back to their ancestral home, where he sifts through his grandmother's old photographs and rediscovers new memories as he navigates and finds his way back to his family. No More Crying is actually inspired by my own experience when I was tasked to create my grandmother's funeral portrait when she passed away last year. Having a Filipino mother and a Chinese father, I have always felt the blunt end of the liminality of my identity. And I've always felt distance to my grandparents growing up because of the language barrier. But when I lost my grandmother last year, I was forced to face my identity as a Chinese Filipino and the love I had, albeit complex, for my grandmother. And so I was inspired to create No More Crying as a love letter to my grandmother and an ode to the Chinese Filipino community. My hope for the local and alternative cinema is that filmmakers continue to create stories, narratives that resonate true to them, that deserve to be seen on the silver screen. And that even though these may not be, funded by mainstream studios, we continue to find the spaces for our stories to thrive.
I'm Dre.
I'm Dave.
I'm Chloe Spearson.
And we are the cast and crew of the film Time's Up. One moment. So our film is all about a day in a life of a freelance songwriter. So we follow her character, Chloe's character, Jean, like the whole day, and her thought process, her creative process of basically working on a song. So, kana lang, more among kuan. We just wanted to showcase what it's like, or we just really wanted to showcase the creative process of a songwriter or an artist in general. So what have we learned? So daghan kami mga learnings we learned within the 24-hour or within shootout. We just actually wrapped up. We learned a lot of things like unfavorable weather, like karon nag-ulan. Yeah.
Pero laban gihapon. Padayon.
Yes, yes. And what else? We might have been kuan kanang pasilos ami. And what else? Daghan just just compartmentalize. Wait, manod me. Okay. Sige, sud. Okay. So just to compartmentalize like the pre-prod and post-prod and all the things that we need to do to basically finish our film. So right now we haven't actually finished. We are about to start editing. We just finished shooting. So yeah, lot of things to learn, and I'm sure.
What are your hopes for the film industry, local industry?
Local industry. We want to be a part of it, so that's why we tried this out. Hopes. Yeah.
We hope our film would inspire other filmmakers to join future filmmaking contests.
Yeah. And I hope that we basically hope that the industry will be bigger.
Yes.
Because so that a larger group of people who would be inspired to also work or to work in the industry as well.
Para mas daghan, mas lingaw.
Yes.
Ako actually hindi ko kilala yung sarili ko. Baka incarnate lang ni Hans Rivera na collaborator ng pelikulang The Night Was Fertile. So, basahin ko lang yung text niya. Sabi niya, the film is about a man longing for pleasure, connection, and salvation late at night along the streets of the city, a motel, and the street side Garindaya. Tapos, emoji. Eventually, he just finds himself. Weirdo. This film taught him that the medium transcends beyond its form. It's not just about the product or what we see or hear, but more of what brought it there in the first place and how a film collaborator must communicate it. Hindi ko rin gets, bala na kayo. Ito sabi niya, para sa alternative cinema, happy legality sa'yo, Moshko. Pwede ka nang makulong, charot all in one. Ito sabi niya, alternative cinema has essentially proved its revolutionary capabilities through the collaborators who continues to create various novel approaches to film and form. However, I hope eventually the alternative scene will have more introspections and means of productions and systems that would provide care and fair labor practices to other film collaborators. Yun, tapos, ikaw na bahala mag-invite.
Whenever you're ready.
Start na.
Yes, pero pa natin pa rin. Audio recording. Ay, imo lang sa phone. Butang dia sa mga lock na. Diyan lang. Okay.
Hi, I'm Emperador Santiago. I'm with Leonard, Christian Apaw, and Doydoy Migrinyo. Part ni nag-appeal mi karon sa 24-hour shootout sa BINISAYA 2020. And kagalabaw mi. Ang currently among gibuhat na film is napa sa editing stage. And it's all about honoring Jean-Luc Godard by following his style and techniques, pero limited lang kay daghan mo kay sud ka ng mga innovation. So gilimit lang namo kahit tungod sa limit sa time, makita ra na ninyo, mapansin ra na ninyo pag makita ninyo ni. And I guess mao lang. Please support BINISAYA 2022 and please support the local festivals, and the local filmmakers. Thank you.
Ako po si Claudia Fernando at ang title ng pelikula ko ay Round Trip to Happiness. Tungkol siya sa dalawang magkababata na unang beses pa lang masusubukang gumamit ng Google Earth at dahil nga unang beses pa lang din nilang makikita yung Pilipinas sa ganitong klaseng scale at perspective, unti-unti rin nilang makikilala yung problema ng bansa nila and bilang mga batang nangangarap, ano ba yung dreams or ideals nila para dito. After kong gawin yung pelikula, na-realize ko na sobrang importante ng discourse. Sobrang importante na bumalik tayo sa kung saan tayo nanggaling, sa communities natin at makinig sa kwento ng iba't ibang tao. Yung hopes ko naman para sa alternative and local cinema ay sana magpatuloy lang yung pagsunod natin sa guidelines and protocols and i-prioritize pa rin palagi yung health and safety ng media and film workers. And ayun, sana magtuloy-tuloy lang yung suporta, sana madami pang platforms yung lumbas para sa mga batang filmmakers kagaya ko na magkaroon ng avenue para ipakita yung sining, yung mga pelikula natin.
Ako din si Jermaine Tulbo, the creator of the film. I'm sorry I didn't mean to pry. Story niya siya sa duha ka tao na napuno og utang na baw nag-utang. Pati pod nagkautang pod sila sa ilang giupahan. Pero tungod sa dili sila kabayad, gipahawa sila sa landlady. Pero niabot dito ang ilang kamatuoran na kung asa babat dulong ilang future after graduation. So that's the story of the I'm sorry I didn't mean to pry. Working with this film, daghan jud me na learn ani na film kay first 6 mitanan sa team. Apila dito ang team naman sa cast o ang behind the camera. So kung kinsa man ang production designer, producer, niapila po sa film. O nag-actor, actress na po sila. O kung kabalo mo how to collaborate with each other, when you are working each other, murag isa jud ka power jud ang boto jud para lang mabuhat ang film. So yeah, collaboration jud mag-work sa film. Mo jud ako natun-an jud while working with this film. Ako alam yung panganday sa local films. Daganag film festival dire o unta there still continue na magpadayon gyapon sila mga programs o magpadayon pag showcase sa mga films like film students, mga starting filmmakers, mga aspiring filmmakers o daghan pag mga tao nagapanganday mga filmmakers na ginatagan nila og path para lang ma-showcase ilang film.
My name is Gabriela Serrano, and I'm the director, co-writer, and editor of Dikit. Based on Philippine folk horror, Dikit is about a young woman suffering from a monstrous secret who desperately wants a new body. When a new couple in town move in next door to her, she sees her chance to finally get one. It is a silent film, and it is also a split-screen film, and it tells two parallel stories simultaneously without uttering a single word. One thing I learned about myself while making this film was that I work best when I trust my gut. Although making a split-screen film takes a lot of planning and choreography and synchronization, we actually never timed any of our shots and just believed that everything would come together in the edit. I gave my actors a lot of freedom to improvise, and I only yelled cut whenever it felt right, which was a really scary but a very freeing feeling as a longtime editor and now a director for the first time. And I think that's what cinema is all about. Sometimes it's really less about thinking and worrying and more of instinct and feeling, which were all I had to rely on as a first-time filmmaker. I also learned that you don't need to say much to tell a meaningful story. I've always been a quiet person, and I've always been afraid that that would hinder me from becoming a good director. But I realized that you don't need chunks of dialogue to elicit strong emotions or tackle complex ideas. You just need to be creative. You need to be open to playing with form, and you need to have complete trust in your audience. My hope for local and alternative cinema is that more and more of our regions are represented and more of their respective traditions and forgotten histories are celebrated. It's great that regional cinema is emerging and that even regional audiences now have more access to alternative and art house cinema in cities and towns outside of Metro Manila. I also hope that filmmakers like myself who were born and raised in Manila look to the regions for inspiration. My parents are both from the province, and so much of their heritage has informed my own personal experience as a filmmaker based in the city. There's such a wealth of stories to be discovered and to be celebrated outside of the NCR. So I think we need to be taking inspiration from our regions and sharing experiences across all areas of the Philippines. My film would not have been possible without the awareness and the reverence for regional folklore and the universal emotions that they symbolize.
My name is Nana Jane Achacoso. I am the writer and director for Dua Dua. What is my film about? My film is about growing up, the mother and daughter dynamics, and the film is about an exploration of what you can do when you are faced with certain dilemmas and challenges in life. The film is an ode to your childhood, and it's also about the beautiful and the sad parts of growing up. What did you learn about yourself or about filmmaking when you make your film? I learned a lot. And personally, I learned how to be patient, to believe in myself, I learned how a dream or like a vision can take years or like can take you places even. I learned how it can stretch like that, and I learned how to take care of it and nurture it as something that you wanted to happen. Although it will take years or you will face with difficult challenges and it may seem impossible at the time, I learned to believe in it, to be patient with it, and to really work on it. Be resourceful, be creative, etc., etc. About the filmmaking, I learned about the beauty of collaboration. It's such like a beautiful thing to watch. With your, especially with your cast and crew, and if you prepared beforehand, if you've done everything before the shoot, then during the shoot you will learn to enjoy it and like enjoy every single moment and watch the magic unfold before your eyes. It's just that it's so magical and it's so cheesy. It's really fun also to be like working with this very creative and talented people. Blows my mind. And I would like to, I also learned like I want to make more movies. Like I want to like do it all over again. You know, I learned to be happy in the moment, and I learned to enjoy the process of filmmaking, no matter how stressful or how much pressure it is to like film stuff. But yeah. Hopes about local or alternative cinema. Well, my hope is that local and alternative cinema will grow into a big thing. I hope that we as a country will learn to embrace these stories as our own, as our national treasure. We don't just see regional filmmaking as regional or something separate from us. I hope we learn to embrace it because we are all parts of a whole. And I hope that together we learn to merge into one and to grow together, to expand, to pick up these stories all over the Philippines and nurture it, let it grow, let it bloom.
I'm John Baste, and I'm the director of the short film Flight of Stairs. So, my film is about Zach, whose love interest is his schoolmate May. So he enters her apartment building to court her, but as he ascends the flight of stairs, he starts encountering different kinds of obstacles in the form of physical or even psychological. So, does he or will he not get the girl, or will he? If you're curious enough, you can watch a film and see for yourself. So, while producing this film, I'd say I have one key takeaway, and it's that if you meet obstacles in your life, I'd say there are two possibilities. First is that the universe is telling you no or to stop. Second is that the universe is testing you. So if you're wondering what the universe is telling you, I think what matters most or more is what you believe in. If you're confident enough, if you're brave enough to take the leap, I think it's gonna work out in the end. So if you wanna make a film, you wanna shoot a movie with your friends, you should really go for it.
My name is Divina Melanson, and I am the director of The Woman with the Urn. The Woman with the Urn is a story about a daughter and how she survives life after the loss of her mother because of the pandemic, because of COVID. And so yes, thing that I've hoped for sa ato ang local cinema or sa ato ang alternative films is that filmmakers like me continues to create more things like this, more films that shows the reality that we are dwelling. Yeah, whatever status, whatever concept that we or my fellow filmmakers show to the public, because it is important because it connects us with people. It connects us with the individuals, the groups. It brings out voice. It brings us as a whole.
My name is Leonard. I'm the director for the Picture Picture Min X. Yan, isugod ko kay ala pa ko ka-move on. This was shot during the pandemic of 2020 or sometime around December. Tapos, this was brought about kasi sige kong sulat og mga shorts and wala gyud ko'y gina-shoot. So, yung DOP ko, tinulungan ako. He grabbed the guy he knew. I grabbed the girl that I knew, and then we shot yung one of the shorts that I've written. Originally meant for a short film contest na pang centered on photography. So, yun yung ginawa namin. And since I've always wanted to do something na night yung shots, we did that. Things that we've learned during this shoot. Kasi this was my first shoot, so everything from production, making sure that everybody was safe, making sure that schedules were followed. Ako yung perming late. Tapos, making sure that audio was done on set, not be confident and do it afterwards.
My name is Ronnie Gamboa. The title of my film is... Hello, my name is Ronnie Gamboa. The title of my film is Mga Lunat, Tali sa Mga Pulo, also called The Spaces Between Words. And the story is about a guy who tries to borrow money from his friend. Yeah. Ahora siya, what did I learn? I realized I need to make more films. Because I feel so rusty when I was making this film. A lot of it was like DIY. I didn't have a tripod, so like I just stacked a bunch of books na para lang na ako tripod kunuhay. Ngayon na ba? So, marag na back to basics. And then I realized na making films is not like the film is not like not just the fun part for me. Like the process of making a film also is something that I indulge myself in. And with this experience, I learned that I need, ano, I need more of that gut feeling of just doing it. Yeah. So my hopes for local alternatives or alternative cinema kay kuan. Maintag na anay Cinematheque ang Cebu. Dugay na kay ko nagdahom na kuan na Cinematheque ang Cebu. Sayang kaayo ba? Like I think we have a good opportunity here to, share our culture. Kay makasuya sa uban lugar ba, Davao, Jansan, I think they have like Cinematheques or micro cinemas. Yeah, Cebu kay wala movie house lagi hapon. And then my other hope is kanang na ay makita ko og more Cebuano full length because it's been a while since a Cebuano full length has been made or kanang I don't know. I haven't been in the loop sad, but kana murag nindot mo tan-aw og Bisaya na film on a big screen.
Ako po si Bradley Jason Pantajo and I am a young filmmaker from Rizal. My film Love in the Godly Hour is a love story between two young men who got separated after one of them contracted a highly stigmatized illness. It is a story of second chances, forgiveness, and finding beauty in reconciliation and companionship in the time of our ungodly hour. The film started as my way of coming out. It served as a letter for my closest friends and family. I started writing it when I was 19. It started when I asked my friend on ways on how should I come out, and she told me that maybe I could write a letter. So I did, and after many sleepless nights and countless tears, I finally had the script on my hand, and that's how Love the Godly Hour was born. Seeing how inimitable and unparalleled the voices of our local Filipino filmmakers have become, I really hope many of our kababayans would appreciate the beauty of our own cinema, embrace our stories no matter how simple, unique, wazak, and mindfuck it is, and uplift our fellow Filipino artists because they deserve the spotlight and they deserve to be seen.
Control is a product of our passion to as much as possible shed light, raise awareness, and portray mental illness as accurately as we can. That may have sounded a bit on the nose, but that was our goal and hopefully we accomplished it. The aim was to not romanticize the subject matter and show its real face. I'm JK and I represent our team from Control and on behalf of our director Cleo. The plot of our film centers on a boy that is not only incredibly lonely, but confused as to why he feels the way he feels and thinks the way he thinks. He is surrounded by typical characters we ourselves may also be surrounded with, and unfortunately, they are just as clueless as he is. There's been a ton of portrayal about the subject matter, but as mentioned, we wanted to show mental illness's real face and that it's not loud or overhyped, and on the contrary, oftentimes voiceless. Being a first time filmmaker myself, I definitely learned a whole lot throughout the production of the film. And really, it's nothing out of the ordinary. It could be as simply as knowing the importance of securing a good location and finding out that you can never skimp on sound because it will bite you in the ass later on. And that it's indeed impossible to learn to plow by reading books. If you want to learn how to make films, then you just have to go out and make one. My hopes for local and alternative cinema, it's just like what everyone hopes for. I hope that the stakeholders and people in position won't stop and will continue to support local filmmakers.
My name is Andy Denson and I am the writer and director of the short film Give Me a Loan. It is a combination of French New Wave inspired by Jean-Luc Godard and Agnes Varda mixed with Cebuano culture and a heartbreak and the two perspectives of both the boyfriend and the girlfriend.
I'm Novi. So, ang title sa akong film kay Bisan ang Ulan, May Paglurang. Or in English, Even the Bad Days Are Transient. My film is about story ni siya ni Manong Roy nga nagpuyo sa usa ka isolated na place. And then every night kay naagi ni siya bation. So basically my film is about sleep paralysis. So I think ang learning nako sa film is first good communication. Kay I think communication is the key to success. Mutuo jud pa na. Kay without communication, I think dili jud ma-successful ang film bisag unsa pa na siya kalisod. You really have to communicate with your crew kay ka-team biya mo. Second kay tagaan nimo importance ang time. Kay limited ra kayo ang days nga inyong i-shoot. Dili tanan is kanang madali-dali ra. And since limited sad ang budget, so dapat strict jud ka mo bantay sa time kay if mo extend ka another budget na pod. So mo na siyang reality sa filmmaking. Mag-agad kita sa budget o pila ra ang budget ana i-allot sa kana nga mga adlaw nga imong gipili for shoot. Then the third one is the teamwork. Most importantly, kay since gamay ra man may ato nga time, so bahala na lag kana usa imong role or mahog na noon nga daghan ka role. So dili na siya malikayan for the small crew. Dili makaka-afford og daghan nga crew, di ba? Unless of big production, kana maka-focus jud ka sa imong work. Sabota mo lagid sa mga small crew. So, I think mo rin akong daghan kog na learn actually. Pero I think that's kanang tulo kay mo na pinaka-major gud nga ako ang na learn. So in every film man good, there will always be a time nga naadyo kay mga late realizations, especially in the post-production na or even sa set na aman jud. So to prevent such failures in the future, kay you have to apply what you learn from the past nga mo project para malikayan nimo ba such failures. So through that experience manggod mahon jud na nimo imong skills. Ya mura ra siya hagdanan gud. It's part of one naman sa growing as a filmmaker nga every step jud is na jud kay mga bag-ong ma-learn. Tas apply na sa nimo sa next step ta sa nimo nga na. Aside from that, so kadaghanan nimo na learn, it's also nice pud nga ma-share pud nimo siya sa other people, other filmmakers nga para at least nga ma-inspired sila nimo, ma-inspired sila maghimo films, mao nilang nakatunan and so on. So yeah, we keep on learning every day. So mao na siya.
My name is Julian Mays, and the short film we worked on is called The Misfit. The Misfit is about a young queer boy who struggles to fit in with his friends because he goes to an all-boys school and all of his friends are straight guys, and because of this, he doesn't know how to express his effeminate side. We learned a lot of things while making this film because this is the first thing we worked on in over 2 years, and we were using some new equipment. Because of this, we ended up making so many mistakes. Like, the microphone we used was broken halfway through. We adapted by using the voice recording app on a cell phone, in lieu of having an actual microphone on set. Personally, I learned that a film doesn't have to be big and complicated to be meaningful. This film was very short, very sweet, very simple, yet, to me, at least, it was very meaningful. I hope local cinema gets a lot more popular, especially by indie filmmakers, because more people interested means more people watching. More people watching means more local films getting made and more independent films getting made. And I really want to know the kind of stories local and independent filmmakers can come up with.
My name is Josh. I am the writer, director, and editor of the film Tong Adlaw Nga Nagsnow sa Pinas, or The Day It Snowed in the Philippines. So the story centers around 2 young boys who live in Porok 12, Tibungco, Davao City. They are very, very fond of snow and also samurai films. And we see them in the film as they are challenged to face a world of violence and abuse in such a very young age. And so while we were making the films, one of the many things that I've learned and one of the many things that I found extremely fascinating, really, aside from the learnings that I've had about storytelling and the technical aspects of filmmaking, really is the sense of community that we have back in Purok 12, Tibungco, Davao City, where we shot the film. I found the willingness of the people and their commitment to the willingness to help in our project. That was really fascinating for me. And my hope for local cinema, especially for Mindanao, since I am from Mindanao, I'm a filmmaker from Mindanao. For me, really, my hope is to see more stories that best showcases Mindanao as this rich pot of stories. Because we have a lot of stories that have been hidden away, have been tucked away, and is yet to be discovered. So I hope to see more stories that show Mindanao as it is, the mysticism, the richness of the culture that we have here.
My name is Russell Curtan, the director. This is written by Christine Ade. So the title of our film is called Alexi, which is short for alexithymia. It is a state of having an inability to identify and describe emotions. So art attracts us only by what it reveals of our most secret self. The film is about a joint anecdote of a writer and a book character that unfolds the obstacles and complexity of a narrative single page towards the undertaking of self-discovery to fulfill her commission work for a publishing group. In making of this film, we pay tribute to one of the important figures in cinema, the late Jean-Luc Godard, by trying our best to emulate his style of filmmaking. I hope the local alternative cinema, especially here in the Philippines, will continue to be supported and participated by both artists and consumers.
Danggit sa Langit. So, why is our name Danggit sa Langit? So, I chose Danggit sa Langit was because one day I was just like, what's a cool name? And I thought about Danggit for some reason. I think I was in Bantayan, and then I was like, Danggit sa Langit. And then, voila, it just stuck with me. And it's pretty catchy too. So yeah.
Also it rhymes.
Yes. That too.
Title of the film is Ataya Ani Uy.
Ataya Ani Uy.
Yeah, we just want to show the one of those philosophical questions and why are we here when we're faced with a lot of problems and all, like how do we live life, something like that. But Ataya Ani Uy is like
it's a big expression.
Yes, it's a big expression.
We use it when we're happy, we're sad, we're scared, we're excited. But it's like usually known as a bad thing, or informal. But you know, we use it all the time.
Yes, and that's why we try to inject that in our film. So if you have existential crisis, just gonna say Tayan eh.
True.
What did you learn in the film making process? Kano yun?
Siguro, I've learned that pwede mo makato.
Pero Bisaya alam yun. Kapoy na yun.
Ako learn. Bitaw, they're Bisaya mo to.
Yeah.
Akong nakatunan kay Okay, so I think what I learned was I learned more about good art because honestly I don't watch a lot of French cinema. I watch more Asian cinema, and I know that he's probably one of the influences for them, but I never watch his films till the other night when we were studying, and it's really hard to make a short plot too in the span of how many hours did we make the short plot? 3 hours.
The script?
Yeah, the script.
Yeah, a few hours.
Yeah, and then I also learned that you have to always be on your feet because you're constantly changing new things and new ideas come to your head because the concept is also fresh and you still want to flesh that concept out. So like there's always like new ideas plugged in, and it's hard to fit all those ideas in one. And we always have to cut out the ideas that we think are good or ideas we think are bad. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, actually, it's just like pure collaboration is really key.
True.
And yeah, as much as possible in this building of the stories, we have different inputs so we can craft the quote unquote right story or the perfect story we can work on, since we have um, each of us have a share of idea, so we can have a unique and doable story. Something like that. So,
I'm JT Trinidad and I'm the director of Like People, They Change Too. The film is about me, the filmmaker. It's a documentary of me visiting the places I've been to with my late grandfather. I learned about the places around me. I became more aware about the things that happen around our place in Laguna and in Manila. And my hopes for local or alternative cinema is for it to be not alternative anymore, for it to be the mainstream, or for it to be popularized, and for it not to be gate kept by a lot of people. I think one memorable thing when making the film is the post-production part of it, because most of the story or the script writing make sense na rin in the end.
My name is Carl Mendoza, and I am the director of Souls of Corruption. Souls of Corruption is a film about the sudden murder of a president from an unknown nation. Through the interactions of two priests, the film follows the subsequent trials of three suspects: a politician, an activist, and a maid. Unlike many films today, Souls of Corruption is a silent film, and it is a style of film that was more common during the pre-World War II era. As the director of this film, I wanted to go for this particular kind of style in order to portray a dead feel that symbolizes the death of a nation. A lot of lessons can be had from the film itself, but the process of making such a film was not an easy one. One of the things that our film suffered from were unexpected inconveniences that we could not do anything about. We had planned to shoot in several locations, but then there were sudden events in those public areas which we were not informed about. Because of this, what is seen in the film is actually just a portion of what I had envisioned in my mind. More importantly, however, our film suffered from a great lack of support. We had a production member who suddenly backed out a day before the shoot, and our main editor also disappeared for 2 months without any updates. When he came back, he just gave up on our film. This is why, for Philippine cinema, I have many hopes. I hope that we can strive to support those who have a lack of resources but who have a great vision. And I hope that we can not only seek to entertain, but to enlighten people about the many truths of our society.
Ako din si Emperador Santiago, ako ang writer and director sa short film na Sleep. Sleep is all about an artist na nasuspend siya kay tungod kay nasiya gibuhat na di maayo sa iyang coworker. Tapos during siyang suspension, daghang kay siya nakita siyang sarili, nahibalan niya na dili na siya kabalo mag-paint for himself. Tapos kadto, and ako ang na-learn sa filmmaking while shooting it, during sa pag-develop na ko sa script, during sa earliest development of the script, kay the way how I wrote the script kay more on intellectualization, but na-postpone man amo ang shoot, so na-postpone for another months. Smoto na yung mga revision sa script, nakarealize ko na cinema is not the medium of intellectual but rather the medium of the feeling. So unsa man nimo pag sige ko na unsa nimo para makaprovoke kag feelings gamit ang cinema.
I am Carolina Habido. I am one of the writers and directors of Mga Kadinis sa Kaugmaon, along with Director Bar Olegario. A film about Rigo rediscovering his wife when he traverses back into the memories of his hometown and of his friend. Upon making this film, I realized and learned how powerful memories are. It could help a person to keep going. It could help him or her feel motivated, but it could also make him or her feel regret when he remembers the things that he could have done or should have done, but he did not. So I am hoping for the local cinema to keep on creating films that reminds us of who we are, of our identity, and when time comes, it becomes a memory. Hopefully, it does not make you feel regret, but rather it will make you feel motivated and will help you to keep going as well.
My name is Rob Zamora Daguta, the director of Paglambo sa Atong Pagbulag. And with me in this film are my cast and crew, Tin Ilustrisimo and Kirk Justin Ramos. Together, we made a film about a theater artist who reminisces a love lost by the night as they profess their love in distinct spaces of comfort and void. Char. In other words, this is our collective imagining of intimacy in spaces of art and queerness. As we were making this film, it was very difficult to encapsulate the prompt, which is making a tribute film to Godard. Of course, we opted to go beyond the obvious of jump cuts and other visual storytelling devices and focus in taking the audience on a journey. We wanted to be blunt in the alternative and make a film that's familiar yet distinct. Wala lang mo na shoot ng shots and nag-shoot po mi na walay script. Nag-shoot lang mi with a visual narrative pero ang oral narrative or ang text was made after the shooting proper. Hence, kulang-kulang jud mig shots and dabag-o jud ang narrative and messaging from the conceptualization to shooting, abot sa editing. What I learned throughout the process naman was that I cannot do this alone. Hence, I am eternally grateful to Tin and Kirk for collaborating with me in this film. We all know that filmmaking is a collective effort, but what I manifested along the way is that filmmaking is also an emotional journey, just as much as the material is being realized. And I hope that a lot of brilliant storytellers, especially from the regions, will take it upon themselves to tell their stories. Maghimo ng judta og pelikula sa abot ng atong makakaya. Through this, mapalambo pa nato ato ang regional identity ug ma-immortalize ato ang mga pagdayeg ug pagmaoy.
I'm Muhammad Raza Muhammadi, the director of Naspari short film. Naspari is about a young girl who is trying to prevent her forced marriage. You are asking how? Naspari will show it to you. This is my first professional experience. Although I had made some amateur films before, this one changed my perspective. I learned to understand how important it is to train with the cast in pre-production stage. That's why I spent a lot of time on it. And the result of which was a surprise from the audience when they came to realize it was first experience for almost all of my cast. Okay, I would have loved to be with you this year, but it wasn't possible for me. But I hope to be with you with another film next year, so that we all can watch films on the screen together.
Ako si Don Eblahan, ang director ng pelikulang The Headhunter's Daughter, and also the director of the short film Hilom, which won the Horizon's Best Film for last year's BINISAYA. And gratefully, kasali ulit tayo in one of my favorite regional festivals in the Philippines. Dahil din sa BINISAYA ay nagkaroon din ng magandang platform yung previous short film ko na Hilom. At dahil na rin sa award na yon is mas naka-reach out din tayo sa iba't ibang mga audiences, especially in regional areas in the Philippines, na otherwise na hindi mararating ng pelikula namin noon. And I'm really happy also this year na the same thing will happen para sa pinaka-recent ko na pelikulang The Headhunter's Daughter, which was shot during the pandemic, more specifically sa La Trinidad, which is, alam nyo naman, yung pandemya sa Pilipinas, mahirap yung mag-travel sa iba't ibang mga syudad, kahit na magkalapit lang. So that really made our filmmaking process a bit harder. Sourcing actors, pati na rin yung crew namin. Isa sa mga pinaka-solution namin is yung just go low budget and, kami-kami lang. basically. So parang mga magtuturo pa lang na nagfi-film. Sourcing non-actors and sourcing non-film people as well. Kahit wala kaming masyadong budget, kahit may bagyo, even though everything was hard because of the pandemic, at least nakagawa pa rin kami ng film. And di rin namin akalain na na-accept din kami sa Sundance and all these other festivals na napuntahan na rin ng pelikula namin. And parte nung kung bakit kami sobrang proud sa kung ano mang narating nung pelikula is dahil nga rin sa the fact na wala kami masyadong resources, wala kami masyadong tao. Same constraints na meron din lahat ng mga regional filmmakers sa Pilipinas, sa mga filmmakers na hindi nakatira sa sentro, lalo na sa mga lugar na medyo mas mahirap pa rin maabot. Lahat tayo ay parang may hinaharap na same problem about resources and support. Sobrang importante lang para sa akin and for my crew to share our experience. Grabe. Kahit sobrang hirap nung production is parang pwede pa rin. Yes, I just wanted to share a bit of our story and to introduce our film, The Headhunter's Daughter. To me, it's important to make a film dito sa lugar namin kasi dito ako lumaki. Although Ifugao Bisayan yung ethnicity ko, I wanted to make a film on both sides of my ancestry bago ako mag-move on into, I guess, making feature films.
I'm Maria Estela Paiso, the director, writer, editor of Ang Pangabagat ng Talakbalikol, also known as It's Raining Frogs Outside. You may have seen me last BINISAYA 2021 because I did a talk with Ligaya, and this year in BINISAYA 2022, Ang Pangabagat ng Talakbalikol will finally be screened. Yay! The short is about a girl who goes back to her hometown because the world is ending. Once she gets there, her childhood home terrorizes her and confronts her with her own personal history. I've been in post-production since 2016 and I've been editing for 5 years before I directed Frogs in 2021. This film was developed under Archipelago Lab, and the people who helped me make this short are also my friends, and I've been working with them for the longest time. And at the time that we shot this, we were all first-timers, so we didn't really know what we were doing. We were just improvising. It's really different when you surround yourself with people who get you and who understand what you're trying to say and what you're trying to do. They won't hold back on criticism, but at the same time, they're very fully, but at the same time, they're very supportive and they really just want to help you make the film. I think one of the most surprising things about Frogs is the fact that it has made and is making its way around a few international film festivals, because it's one thing to actually make my first legitimate serious short film, but it's another thing to be like accepted and like screened in other countries as well. So I was told to put a section that would inspire other filmmakers and other local films to go global, and I don't know how to do that. But coming from me, I have no relatives who are filmmakers. I have no formal film background, at least. I didn't study cinema in college. I only had like a few film courses, but that was it. Everything I know now, or at least 90% or 95%, I learned through post-production. So if I can do it, you can.
karon na nagkaila-ila na ka sa akong mga amigo, imo kong ipaila-ila sa imo.